Need to make sure I can see these comments and we can get started. There we go. Hey, we're going beyond business basics for your business growth. Information, that basic information is all across YouTube, okay? Including past morning shows on this channel. But we are taking things beyond the basics and going to the next level. It all started yesterday. It was supposed to start yesterday. It didn't quite start yesterday, but it always starts with the discussion questions, which usually go out on Tuesdays. All right. So those discussion questions were, if a client referred you today, what would they say about working with you beyond the results that they got? So what was it like to work with you beyond the results that they paid for? What do you think clients remember longer? What you delivered or how you delivered it? And last but not least, at what point do you think the client experience actually begins? Okay, so these are the discussion questions, and as these questions progress, you should have got a feeling about what the topic is today. But we're going to start with these questions. We have in studio guests, of course. We're going to start with Dr. Tachi. Dr. Tachi, do you want to answer these questions one by one, or give us like a summary type answer that gives us a great picture for what? Oh, Dr. Tachi left. So we're going to start with Shawana Kennedy Media, because Dr. Tachi got knocked off of the broadcast. So Shawana Kennedy Media, do you want to start by answering these questions one at a time, or do you want to just give a answer that kind of encapsulates the answer to all of them?
I will.
You will what?
Oh, she's back.
Yes, I
I
see her,
will.
but you go ahead and answer.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer. Okay, let me see. First question, what was it? If a client referred you today, what would they say about working with you beyond the results? I believe they
Yeah.
would say that I genuinely care. We genuinely care. We listen. We make them feel at ease. We make them feel supported instead of overwhelmed. We let them know that, and they feel and they can see that we're invested in their vision and not just deliverables.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I think about what do what do the client remember? Do they remember? They
What do they
remember how we
remember
deliver it.
longer?
Yeah, do they what do they remember longer? They remember
Yeah.
how we delivered it. They remember how we delivered it. Because I know for me, people remember how you make them feel, just like the same way they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So they
Mm-hmm.
remember how you make them feel. They remember that they felt heard, guided, encouraged. And for a lot of my clients, they actually feel more confident. The deliverables, they do matter, but the experience is what people talk about, and that's what they refer. They refer the experience to me. Um, at what point do I think clients, let me see, at what point do you think the client experience actually begins? Ooh,
Yeah.
yes,
I
yes.
know, right?
It starts from the very first interaction. That's why you already know, be seen, be
Mm-hmm.
heard, be known, and what that is the things that can get you paid. So that even starts with the interaction from your website, your content, the DMs, the calls, the emails. And of course, we're working on, yes, 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 not a shameless plug, the visibility production assessment, because every touch point is teaching people what it feels like to work with you. In our case, with Kennedy
Exactly.
Media, and even working with me, because I say I'm the not so secret sauce, because you get the expertise, you get the
Mm-hmm.
experience when you work with me. Because by the time someone hire us, they should already feel seen. They should already feel the things that I said before, supported. They should feel more confident, and they should feel right at place, kind of a sense of right at home with whatever it is that's going on in their life and in their project at that moment. So those are my answers.
Exactly, exactly. Great answers. You're giving us a great start to be on the road for this conversation we're about to have. So let's go to Dr. Tachi. Somehow technology knocked her out, but she came right back because she can't be kept down. So Dr. Tachi, do you want to answer the questions one by one, or do you want to give one answer that kind of encapsulates all of the questions?
One by one. And yes, I hit
Let's go.
technology with a baseball bat. Okay.
Okay.
So the first one is, oh, I the questions disappeared. Hold, because I came back in. If they had to refer me today, what would they say beyond the results? That I operate in excellence, that I have an unparalleled level of knowledge, and that the experience was personable.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
And what do I think clients remember longer? The what or the how?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the how. They remember the what, of course, because you have to be knowledgeable and deliver what the hell you're supposed to deliver in order for it to matter. But the how definitely can cushion a lot of things. So the how. And at what point does the client experience begin? I agree with Shawana from the first interaction. To take it further, for look at you for an example. People know by the way you deliver content what they're going to get when they work with you. But
Most
this is
definitely.
why it kind of has to align with truthfulness in the way you do things and how you deliver. I keep going back to that Cheyenne Bryant where she talked a good game, so she wrapped her nonsense in a bunch of rubbish words,
Yeah.
but when it comes to delivering, we see stories now of how it was not what it was supposed to be. So you are a perfect example of we get what we hear and we get what we see. So I think that we have to kind of have that balance and not go be it's with not going beyond and not over promising what you can actually do because then you don't have to Cheyenne it up.
We're using it as a verb. Weak. Yes, most definitely. So I love the answers that both of you gave, right? Because client experience is so important. We have all experienced where we have gotten what we paid for, but how we got it kind of outshone in a negative way what we paid for, and that we got what we paid for, right? So just like a negative experience in being serviced can outshine the results, so can a positive experience, right? In fact, positive experiences is usually that secret sauce that gets people to refer you, right? The reason why I have become such a successful fractional chief operating officer was not my marketing efforts, right? I never wanted to scale my service. I don't want to have an agency model. I don't want to have a bunch of operating assistants under me that I pay directly. I never wanted to do that. But how word spread was word of mouth. And that word of mouth was based on all the monkeys I took off my CEO clients' back. The first week always feels the same for each of my clients when they come on board. They feel a relief that is almost instantaneous when I come into the business because of the methodologies that I use to become that first person that is their first shield, the first liaison, and all of these things. So how you treat your customers, the experience you put them through as you service them. All of that is important. Okay. Now, let's get started because we're going to get some good information today. Like we last week was a super week, right? So last Wednesday, we gave so much information. I think that was the last of my content for the week. Y'all didn't even get what y'all, everything you were supposed to get that week because I gave you so much on Wednesday. Woo, tired me out. But today we're talking about client experience. Okay, it goes beyond just customer service. First, let's start with the basics. Client clarity. You have to know your client. You have to know what they need, how they want to receive it, all of these things. Okay. You have to have set up communication protocols for your client. Okay. You have to deliver to those people what they have paid for. But that is baseline. We're going beyond that to the next level. So I've put together a 3 point formula for your next level. I'm going to go ahead and tell you the formula, and that is client connection, client journey optimization, and client continuity. Okay. Surprise, the Alabama didn't interrupt the pronunciation of that word, but we got it out. Continuity. We're going to see how much more we can do. Okay. But those are the first phases of a client experience. We need to go beyond because those phases are important, but that's minimum. That's the minimum that is required to stay in business, right? You got to be clear or nobody's going to buy. You're going to have to communicate or everybody's going to complain. And you have to deliver or you're going to have to do some refunds. So those are the bare minimum, all right? So the next level is understanding that client experience is not about delivering a service. That's what they paid for. Okay. The experience should be this thing that's extra, but it should be about engineering, client transformation, and retention. Okay. Make sure those people get what they paid for in ways that they will definitely get the result, and you build in ways for them to keep coming back. Okay. Because clients don't remember everything that you said. Let me tell you the things that they remember. Like Shawana Kennedy Media said, they remember how they felt. Okay. They remember how easy things were or how hard it was. Okay. Have you ever encountered somebody where it was even hard to pay them? It was hard to give them your money. Your hard-earned money, they made it hard for them to get. Okay. It's hard for you to get started with the service. It's hard for you to understand what's going on with the service. Okay. So, how easy things were is remembered. How supported they felt through your process. They remember that. If they feel like you were just asking them for stuff and they are new to it, they feel like they're having to learn your industry just to be serviced by you. How supported did they feel? They remember that. They remember how much progress they made because they worked with you. They remember whether they would do it again, right? They remember whether they would recommend you. These are all the things they will remember based on their experience with you and your service. So let's getting to this next level, okay? Client connection. We want to go from relationship building to emotional investment. We already talked about emotions, right? People remember how you made them feel. That's an emotion. But also, people buy for emotional reasons. So, are you paying off those reasons that they bought emotionally? So, most businesses communicate, bare minimum, right? Market leading businesses create connection. What is the difference? Communication transfers information. I can just tell you something, that's communication. But connection, that feeling between us, what that does is it creates loyalty. Okay. So your next level with connection is intentionally creating moments where clients feel, about to list it out, okay? They feel seen, they feel understood. They feel supported. They feel celebrated. They feel valued. They feel remembered. Okay? Not because you trying to be their friend, because you know, just like your mama told you, you ain't supposed to be trying to be one of their little friends. Okay? But because emotional investment increases. There's a payoff emotion. They bought based on emotions and they're getting a payoff based on emotions. And emotional investment increases retention, referrals, testimonials, upsells, renewals. Okay. So, what are some strategies that you can build that next level connection? Because we talked about why it's important. We talked about what it looks like, what the payoff is. But how do you start creating it? Well, I got 3 strategies for you. Number one, um, when they can anticipate support. Okay, when they nobody feels supported if they are able to anticipate that support. So address concerns before clients voice them. That's the best way to do it. Don't wait till somebody complains. Pay attention, be in tune with what's going on and say, hey, I see that such and such, was a little not as easy as it could have been. So this is what we've done to make that easier. Or, hey, we're coming up on this phase of your service, and we think that we're going to add in this element of support to make it even easier for you. Anticipate support. Okay. That brings a stronger connection. We love feeling supported, but when we have people that give us things that we need before we even realize we need them, baby, we in there. Okay. We're tuned in. We're locked in, as the kids say. All right. The next strategy for connection is going to be milestone recognition. We got to celebrate, y'all. We got to celebrate those first wins. We got to celebrate breakthroughs. We got to celebrate anniversaries and completions and implementation milestones. That's the stuff all along the way, because you don't wait to the end to celebrate. All right. You celebrate all along the way. And so recognizing them at different milestones and not just at the end is great. In fact, if you buy anything from me that is above a workshop, like if you get a roadmap from me or you get retainer services from me, the first email that you get says, congratulations. Right? I'm already celebrating you because I already know you're about to get a transformation that you deserve. Okay? You're going to get a return on that investment, and we're celebrating already. So, celebration is important. Last but not least is personalization layers. Okay? You need to remember things about that specific client, not just treating them like a cookie client that's going through things that everybody goes through. You need to remember what is their specific goal. What are their specific preferences? What are their specific challenges? And you need to be remembering past conversations, right? When we talk on the in the morning show that ran 3 years, when we talk on this live business discussion, you hear me talking to Dr. Tachi and Shawana Kennedy Media. Dr. Toya is not with us this morning, but usually she's on, and in other guests, Heather is one that shows up, right? Sometimes we have Dr. LaFera usually comes on. You hear me having conversations with them that where I'm pulling in things from the past because I am locked in on them and their businesses. I am tuned in to past struggles, and I can bring those conversations forward as a part of this conversation because I am personal with them. So you need to add personal layers. All right. So that was our first winning strategy. Next level, which is client connection. Let's go to number 2, and that is going to be client journey optimization. You've heard it for 3 years straight. Everything with operations starts with the client journey. You want to make your business better? Start with the client journey. For service-based businesses that usually have 6 phases, that's inquiry. It's going to be look at me trying to remember all of them. Inquiry, it's awareness, inquiry, purchase, onboarding, service, offboarding. That's 6. Okay, so I remembered all 6 of them. So that's a basic client journey. When you first start your first wave of improving the client experience, that's where you start. But the next level is going to be going back to that journey and optimizing. Okay. So our job is going to go from creating the journey and removing friction to increasing momentum. So we don't just want to make it easy for you, right, as an experience. We want you to have a next level experience where you're getting things done and you're getting them done faster. Momentum. Okay. Most businesses fix problems. Service-based businesses, that's our job. So advanced businesses accelerate the wins. So the question becomes, how quickly can we help the client experience success? Even small wins matter because momentum creates belief. Belief creates implementation. Implementation creates results. And results create retention. Okay? So I'm going to say that again because I felt like that was a little canonism, right? So momentum creates belief. Belief creates implementation. Implementation creates results, and results create retention, client retention. Okay. And so this is a great optimization of your client journey. So, what are you optimizing for? When you go back through those 6 phases of your service, what are you looking to optimize for? Speed to the first win. How quickly can we get them to that first win so that we can start to build that momentum? That's what we want to optimize for. How quickly can client experience progress? How can they feel it? I told you my fractional COO clients feel a relief in the first week. How quickly can you get people a first win? Not the full result that they paid for, but at least some first win that matters to them, that they will value. Okay. You want to optimize for decision simplicity. I can't tell you enough that when people pay money for a done for you service, how they want a lot of those decisions to be made by the expert. That's you. And any decision that they need to make, they need it to be simple and easy to make. They shouldn't have to research your whole industry to make a decision when they hired an expert. Why aren't you giving expert recommendations? That's an example, right? So it's not even just how many unnecessary choices exist. It's, are you even preparing them for the choices that they do have to make? I really don't like it when people provide a service and then that person being service has to become an expert just to get the best out of their service. No, they hired an expert. So stop saying, what do you want to do? And say, hey, in my expert opinion, these are my recommendations. And out of these recommendations that have gone through the filter of my expertise, which direction would you like to go? Because if they wanted to start from a clean slate, they wouldn't have paid you. Okay. So the next one is a part of what I said, which is cognitive load reduction. How much thinking can you remove from them? How can you make it a no brainer at every step of the way? This is why, one of my brand promises is that I make it make sense. That's the name of this live business discussion every week. So I fulfill that promise that way. But another brand promise that I have is I'm going to always give you tools to help you to get started and finish more quickly than you would have on your own without these tools. So I don't just give you strategies, I give you tools so that you can work those strategies quicker, right? How can you help people reduce the amount of thinking they have to do just to be serviced by you? All right. Last but not least is accountability, visibility. Can clients clearly see progress? If clients are working with you through phases, are you giving weekly reports? How often are you meeting to give them a status update? All of these things hold you accountable, just like when y'all start investing in teams. Why do you have a team meeting? You don't just have a team meeting routinely to give information, because sometimes there's no new information to give. But what you know is, if you have a team meeting every week and you have given tasks throughout the week, that team is going to scramble to make sure all that stuff is done before the next team meeting, right? Same thing with you when you're giving your service. You need to have status meetings and weekly updates. So the meeting don't have to be every week. The meeting can be bi-weekly, the meeting can be monthly. But every week they need to know what's going on with their status. So if you're not meeting in person, then that's when that report goes out. Okay? So accountability, visibility. And so that was the next level of client journey optimization. The final thing is client continuity. Hey, I'm still pronouncing it right, okay? But we want to go from client retention to relationship expansion. We don't just want to keep clients. We don't want to just keep them in the same state that they're in. We want to expand the relationship. So a lot of you may think that continuity or retention means just renewals and retainers and memberships. But the problem with those is they could be renewing and retaining and membering at the same level that they are. And you're not necessarily expanding the relationship. So renewals, retainers, memberships, that's just a small part of it. Next level is creating ongoing relevance. Sorry. Clients will leave when they believe you ain't got nothing else to offer them. You've been giving them the same thing. Either they feel stagnant or they feel like they've gotten enough and they've gotten where they want to go. Continuity ensures there's always a logical next step, not through manipulation, but through progression. This is why we have things like an offer ladder. Okay. So these are some questions you need to ask about your offer to see if you have that continuity that you need. Okay. What happens after you assess them for your service? What happens after you create a plan for the service? What happens after you come up with the strategy to execute this plan? What happens after you do the implementation of the plan? What happens after they get their first win from you working the plan? And what happens after the service that was purchased is complete? What happens? So you're always asking what's needed next? What's needed next? What's needed next? And How can you fulfill it? That's the continuity that you want to have. That is the expansion that you want to make sure that is a part of your business. Okay. So that was a lot of information. But just to remind you that our formula for the next level is going beyond that client clarity, going beyond that client communication, going beyond that client delivery. Those were the basics. We're going next level into client connection, client journey optimization, and client continuity. All right. All right. Let's go in studio. And we're going to start with Dr. Tachi. Dr. Tachi, that client connection, that client journey optimization, that client continuity, what stood out to you as something you know you need to put in play to make your business better as soon as possibly? And do you have any obstacles to putting that stuff in place?
I think I'm already kind of doing this, but I would really love to amp this up. The
Mm-hmm.
tip where you talked about moving from graphic design to brand cinematography.
Ooh,
I I'm a cinematographer.
yeah.
So I kind of sometimes I compartmentalize what I do when I don't need to. I already know how to do this, so I need to do it. And I'm actually, as I've been talking to you about, getting into the world of AI film and have been
Yes.
taking AI film classes. So I would like to do that more, mixing that with because I also think there's a little bit of blowback right now
Mm,
against things that are made AI, but because I know how to do both, I'm
yes.
going to mix them. So
I love that. I love that. So yes, that is an example of I would say client journey optimization with what you are able to help creators with and what you're able to offer on your network. So I do believe that that is continuity. So thank you for that. All right, Shawana Kennedy, Kennedy Media. How do you feel about this next level formula of client connection, client journey optimization, and client continuity? Which one of the strategies do you feel like will be the most game changing, and do you have any obstacles implementing it?
No, I don't believe I have any obstacles. It's more or less of pushing through some current things to make other things priority. And I'm like Dr. Tachi in a sense where it's not about a takeover because they definitely need to continue to see the human
Mm-hmm.
being the human.
Yes,
However,
yes.
comma, what I have found, even this year alone, there are still people who, one, for whatever their reasons may be, choose to still remain faceless.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not going to go anywhere. So it's seeing where we fit in the mix of really utilizing the AI tools and resources to still have what we have as the real human touch, as well as still being a viable source where you just can't get it all because we're not cookie cutter. That's part of what is the differentiator, I believe, to me. When one of the differentiators when I think about Kennedy Media is that we're not cookie cutter. When you think about what we do, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's social media or graphics design, things like that, I've heard people even fussing and saying that they're tired of some of the flyers and posts and things like that that you can obviously tell that they're not even saying they're not even fussing about Canva anymore these days. They're fussing about the AI images. So
They
it's
are.
like saying, what can you do as a brand to still make sure that you're still top of mind and still relevant when there are so many other things in place. So it is really just saying, okay, where can we maneuver through all of that? But I do like what you said. It's definitely relevant and it's things that we have to stay on top of. All of it, all of it.
We definitely do. I can say that in my business, in my service business, and in my coaching business, I feel like I'm a little obsessed with thinking about and thinking around my clients, right? In our time management, her momentum membership, I'm always thinking about, okay, I put these tools out there, but what are all the different ways I can make sure that members are using these tools? Because I know they'll get the transformation they want if they use these tools, right? So I'm always trying to come up with these ways to encourage people to use the tools. I'm always trying to come up with ways to make the tools even more usable, right? So one of the things that we are releasing is, instead of having the PDF planner for our goals, it is now turning into this interactive worksheet that is going to be released soon. And so, I mean, I feel like we have to all, even though you may have something in place, how can we even improve that, right? So that's that second part, which is client journey optimizations. When you are solving problems, but there is still some friction in the solution, and people are creating technology all the time, our job is to look at that technology and see how we can use it to make that client journey even easier, even faster. All the things that I talked about that you need to be optimizing for, because it's not just about getting them to the transformation anymore. It's how, what is it like on the road to that transformation? And how are you adding to the experience of making it joyful, of making it faster, of making it easier, and all of these things? And so that, to me, can be the differentiator in whether somebody comes back to your service or they use somebody else's service. Because I cannot tell you guys how often that I've had clients come to me when they were finally understanding what a fractional COO was. Because there's a lot of people out there using the title but don't know how to bring the transformation. And there are some people out there only willing to do the first part of it and then leaving the client with the rest of it. Continuity, right? What's the next step? And they don't know how to, they hire you as an expert. They didn't want you to just give them a roadmap and leave them alone. They need help all along the way. And so, I'm just constantly thinking about those things. And I need you guys to remember that Jeff Bezos became a billionaire by being obsessed with his clients and customers. Okay. I mean, to the detriment of some of his employees, but nonetheless, all clients and customers are happy. He just need to get that culture within his company on track with the employees. But he was obsessed on the client. So that's how we get one-click purchasing. None of that stuff existed before Jeff Bezos came around with Amazon. He was obsessed with how to get us what we wanted faster. See, that's one of those things we can optimize for. So in your business, when you want to stand out from everybody else that can give the same result that you can give, it's going to be the how you give it that's going to help you to stand out. All right? Cool beans. This was another good one. Last week was great. Today was great. So I hope we continue being great, helping you to make it make sense in ways that are actually going to be transformational for your business. So let's go, because this has been the Make It Make Sense Live, which is an interactive business discussion as part of our free First Six Figures Business Mastermind community. And that community is especially for positioning Black and brown female online service-based entrepreneurs generating their first six figures by learning how to make the money that will fund your lifestyle of freedom. This is part of a week-long business discussion meant to position you and your business for growth on your journey to your first six figures. So on Tuesdays, we have Talk About It Tuesday, where I release the discussion questions for the week. On Wednesdays, today, we have the live discussion where we get value around the topic that is kind of glimpsed at through those questions. And that discussion we just had today. But you want to stay tuned here in the community on YouTube, because tomorrow we're going to have on Thursdays, and tomorrow, every Thursday, we have case studies that drive the value home with real life examples of how successful businesses that have used these same concepts to be successful. And finally, on Friday, that's where we go back in the vault for the morning show, those 3 years, and we pull forward some foundational information on the same topic. Okay. So find out more about me, your host, Shay Cannon, plus get a link to the free business mastermind group that's right here on YouTube in the description below. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, like the episode, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and don't forget, next up is going to be the Her Biz Breakdown videos. All right? Have a great day. We'll see you right back here on next week, next Wednesday, where we're going to once again make it make sense. Okay, live stream has ended. Ladies, did y'all have any questions